Kyle here from All Media Reviews. I just did the anniversary for May, but I didn't do, and I sort of a little bit of a video blog. I didn't really talk about the upcoming calendar, the release calendar stuff. It hasn't been that extensive, but then there's been a few, and there's a few records coming out this week. So I'll just go over this as quickly as I can, and then do the normal stuff with like what's anticipated and talked about. But first of all, before I do the calendar, there's some news and some stuff that's been kind of on my radar. Local Natives, great band from Orange County, who just released their, I think it was their 6th studio album. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it was their 6th. But I'll Wait for You, the second in less than a year, a couple weeks ago. They're going to go on tour to support that record, and if we do the mid-season list, I have to admit that I'm really, not like I'm obsessed with it, but I've liked it. I've almost done a review. I probably could do a review still, I guess, but they announced that, unfortunately, that they're going to go on tour, but original member Kelsey Ayer is leaving the band. He's a multi-instrumentalist singer. He's not the lead singer, really, in too many songs. That's Taylor Rice, but it's kind of sad to see. I'm sure it's for the best. He's amicably leaving. He may be focusing on other things or like family or something like that. Or maybe he just wants to do something different musically. But it's sad to see. But they're touring. Unfortunately, they don't have any dates here. But I'm glad I did go. I know the same night they were here, I didn't get to see. I've never seen Extreme. Extreme was here with Living Color. But I kind of felt like, because I've seen Local Natives 5 or 6 times, but it had been a number of years. But now, man, I kind of feel like I'm glad I saw them with him if they're not going to come back here. So, but yeah, if you get a chance to see Local Natives, it'll be probably the last time with him, unless he joins them for some other special show or down the road or whatever. But yeah, so kind of sad just to learn about that, but I'm sure it's for the best. And who knows? Maybe he'll still show up on records. I was thinking it was like a Fates Warning thing, like with Frank Aresti and. This band that, I've been really excited. I'll talk more about them in a little bit, but Pepe Deluxe. I was on Reddit last weekend, just looking up some stuff about Pepe Deluxe. And the new Pepe Deluxe song, a couple new songs, got me thinking more buzz about Pepe Deluxe, of course. But someone on Reddit recommended this band called the Avalanches, which the name had been familiar, but I was trying to really trace my experience with them, and then it hit me. They talked about them coming back in the year 2016 on Sound Opinions. It was like a really big deal. And it was just comparing them to Pepe Deluxe. Now the comparison, I'm not sure how close it is to the early Pepe Deluxe, but it's these two guys from Australia, I guess, and the person that I was talking to on Reddit recommended their newest album, even though on Rate Your Music, their latest album, it's called like let me just look it up. We Can Sing, or it's the one record that's not bolded from them, which is interesting. Let's see, where is it? There they are. They have 3 records. We Will Always Love You, which has like a featured guest list. Now, some of it is like they sampled the song on it from Alan Parsons Project on one of the tracks, and then the Carpenters. But some of the featurings include like MGMT, which I'm actually really liking that track, The Divine Chord. Perry Farrell, of Jane's Addiction, of course, and Porno for Pyros. Kurt Vile, who I can take or leave, but Karen O of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and Rivers Cuomo. It's on a track of of Weezer and everything like that. Who was a prog head originally. Nina Cherry, Buffalo Stance, Song Deluxe. So it's got a lot of relatively known names. Musically, it's more like sort of DJ music with samples and loops and stuff. Some piano, some nice vocals at points. But this is the album that came out in the year 2020, December 11, 2020. But the one that Sound Opinions talked about was a big deal because it had been 15 years since their debut album, I guess, called Wildflower. And I haven't heard Wildflower, and I haven't heard the debut album yet since I Left You either, from the year 2000. So mean, they're kind of more like Daft Punk, Chroma Key, DJ Shadow in that vein, I guess, comparably. But I guess you could say the early Pepe Deluxe, like Super Sound, and even the record after that, they were doing a lot of that sampling. But Pepe Deluxe is more about writing compositions and using vintage instruments. But so yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get super into the Avalanches, and I knew, like, I got tons of people I know, like people I follow and rate your music know them, so they're not an unknown band. I'd known the name, but I mean, they're a little bit hipster. I mean, you do a search and you get the Needle Drops review, so of course, but I'm kind of trying to look past that. I mean, and just appreciating their songcraft, and I don't know if I'm gonna get totally into them, but I might get pretty into them. They only have the 3 records, but so they obviously take their time with their music. I guess they had that gap of 16 years because Wildflower came out in 2016. The gap of 16 years was they had been doing other music or something. I don't know. If I had been a fan, I would have been like, with this. Well, people talk about that, like the Postal Service and bands that have these long gaps, including Dredge now and everything else. But Tool, of course, Guns N' Roses. And, the Beach Boys, The Smile, Brian Wilson, but... so, all right, moving on to a little bit of an update for stuff that's coming out. This Friday was announced, I don't know, it was like a week and a half. It was last week sometime. Darren King, after a long time working on this record, he's got an album called, under the name Darren King, formerly of Mutemath, the drummer. He's put out several singles over the last 4 or 5 years, but... it's called Lockers Volume 1. He's got like 27 different singers on it. Among them, Jamie Lydell and PJ Morton. There was one other singer on there, I forget, but I don't expect it to resemble Mutemath exactly. Excuse me. But it'll be more of like a combination of like hip-hop, jazz, some R&B, and there might be some rock in there. I don't know. I just know that the singles he's released, I've liked some of them, and I like him as a drummer especially. So I'm very much looking forward. That's on the 3rd, this coming Friday. Maybe if it goes as far, I'll probably try to do a review next week, maybe, or even on Friday, depending on if time allows. The same day, Matt Page of Dream the Electric Sleep, as I mentioned, has his debut album, Apocalypse Garden, which I'm looking forward to. I like a couple of the singles. The last one's a little more poppy. So... that's on the 3rd. So then, an album I mentioned, because I saw the main guy live from this band a few weeks ago. The Mavericks themselves, Raul Malo, band, has an album called Moon and Stars, which I've heard some of it, heard it live, and I liked it. So, I mean, it's kind of Tex-Mex, it's kind of country rock, but kind of retro-ish. I don't know, I really like him live, really like the Mavericks live last fall, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm not that much of a country person, but... my wife isn't either, but she likes them, so I can understand it. So, Mavericks have Moon and Stars on the 17th of May in a few weeks. Then Azure, the British prog metal, progressive art rock band. FYM comes out on the 23rd of May. Looking forward to that. Free Kitchen, the 24th. Everyone Gets Bloody. Lenny Kravitz, Blue Electric Light on the 24th as well. That was that Pushed It Back album I mentioned in the last update. Mariana Samkina of I Am the Morning. Her solo album, Siren, she was successful, like, to do a show or something on a Kickstarter, but that's coming out on the 31st of May. And then there's a band called Last Plane Out, influenced by Kevin Gilbert and Toy Matinee. I don't know exactly, kind of pop rock, but I know they talked about it in the Kevin Gilbert community. There's one single or 2 singles up, and I listened to it, but this was a few weeks ago. I need to go back. But that self-titled debut album comes out on the 31st of May. I don't know if it catches on. Maybe more people will just catch on to Kevin specifically, because obviously they're fans of Kevin. So a retro update is there was an EP that I didn't talk about. Toe Hider, of course, had 8 or 9 EPs that he did from last year in 2023 that he was still releasing to the public. One of them is called Space Famous that I haven't listened to. I need to just kind of marathon and listen to some of these Toe Hider EPs, but that came out on April 19th, the same day as that Local Natives album and the In Vain album. But, okay, so in June we got Baroque Project, Time Voyager. I think I mentioned that in the last update. The Crooked Fiddle Band, I think I mentioned this as well. The Free Wild Wind and Songs of Birds, which they made their whatever possible campaign. So I'm going to be getting that on compact disc, hopefully sometime in the next few months, maybe even sooner. Chamber folk rock band, prog band, frog band, art rock band. Decemberus on the 14th, so June's pretty filled. June has like 4 or 5 records I'm looking forward to. The Decemberist, As It Ever Was, So It Will Be Again. He put out another single, I think it might be the title track rather, and I haven't gotten around to listening to it, but that the 19-minute track, Joanne or whatever it's called, Joanne, something like that. I'm still, even though it's got some lulls in it, I'm on board, and I'm going to be hopeful to like get more into this record than any of the records in the last decade, or more than the last decade actually. Alceste, La Chante Aurore on the 21st of June. Then Pepe Deluxe's Comic Sonics, which they released 2 singles / videos, or at least one video and 2 singles last week. Last Friday, I think it was. Maybe it was actually in the middle of the week. The singles came out, and then the video came out on Friday. And the single was not for Earth Boys Are Easy, but it was very melodically is good. Kind of soulful at points, but the single itself was using a lot of gender bending, sort of like non-binary images with men and women with these hot dogs and stuff, and it was weird. I mean, I applaud them for totally trying stuff. Let's just see if yeah, the Topster site. I should mention that whole thing about the Deer Hunter too, just not to go off too far off topic, but where is it? There it is. Yeah, no. Let's just see here. I forget the name of it. I mean, the track list for Comic Sonics, there's a press release, or like someone I'd found. They released Sweet Baby Son that was like a month ago. Freedom Flag it's called. I should have written it down. Then they did another song called From the Mouth of Elmer McCurdy. That's just audio. But the video for Freedom Flag is just bizarre. But, I think it works in the long run. I mean, I thought 90s music from Kimber was bizarre, and it just has held up. So, yeah, I'm excited for it, but I'm a fanboy, so I have my bias. So, yeah, but those 2 more songs, Freedom Flag and From the Mouth of Elmer McCurdy, are pretty good. I think they're better than Sweet Baby Son and the other one. They've released like 5 or 6 tracks. We still haven't heard the version of Earth Boys Are Easy with the vocals, but the structure of Comic Sonics is more resembling Queen of the Wave, with like sort of very narrative, kind of conceptual based, with more tracks than the Phantom Cabinet Volume 1. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited for it because I love Pepe Deluxe. So that's the 21st of June, the day after my birthday, actually. The Warning, Keep Me Fed, comes out on the 28th of June. Pretty excited for that. They put out a couple videos the last couple months, and I pre-ordered and everything, so I'll be showing that eventually on my vinyl. So then July 1st, Christian Nesmith and Cersei Ling. Christian Nesmith, son of Michael Nesmith, who's done a lot of stuff, and they put out a record a few years ago, a pure prog record that sounded a lot like Porcupine Tree and Yes, Cosmologica. Their second prog album's coming out called Arcana. So that's on July 1st. Looking forward to that. Deep Purple's, I think it's Equals One, comes out on the 19th of July. I don't know if I'll be listening to that, but it's good that they're still making music. And then Pat Metheny's Moon Dial, with a capital D, it's one word, on the 26th. Of course, it's not Pat Metheny Group. Then I didn't mention this. Okay, so August 16th, Dr. Tranquility's End Time Signals. I mentioned that, but the 30th, I found out about this right after the last update. Giannis of the band Foals has teamed up, or he recorded music with this Tony Allen, I think. The late Tony Allen's a drummer. And he's calling this project Giannis and the Yaw. Lagos, Paris, London, featuring Tony Allen. That's coming out on the 30th of August. I like pretty much everything Foles has ever done, so I'm very curious about this. I'm not surprised he's doing something different. But the thing is, the fact that Tony Allen passed away, this may be just a one-off thing, sadly, but, worth paying attention to. So the only one that's been confirmed besides this is David Gilmour's Luck and Strange. It's coming out on the 6th of September with a lot of guests, I guess. I'm not sure. David Gilmour, I can take or leave his solo career. I like On an Island, but I'll be definitely listening. But the last record, Rattle That Lock, I think it was, I kind of just slept through. I didn't get a lot from, but that was almost 10 years ago. So today, French sort of avant-garde circus prog metal band. The name is akphaezya. It's spelled Akphaezya. It's weird spelling, weird. I don't know actually the definition of the what it means, whatever. But Their first album is in 12 years. The last album they put out was these different anthologies. It was Anthology Volume 2, maybe. They've been doing them sort of out of order, but it's called Fell Down the Veil. It's Anthology 1, 3, and 5, and it's scheduled to be released in October. So, you know, akphaezya, you know, I love the band Unexpect. Unexpect's not around anymore. They were kind of like Unexpect, but they weren't quite as crazy. They're kind of crazy, but not quite as crazy. It's circus metal. Anthology 4, The Tragedy of Narek, was their third album that came out in 2012. So, I mean, I didn't forget about them, but they're not talked about nearly as much. But without Unexpect, they're the next best thing, you know. I mean, we've got a few other bands that have been doing this sort of experimental metal, sort of with chamber instrumentation and different kinds of vocals. But, yeah, I'm curious about this at a minimum. Their debut album is one of my favorite on that sort of like extreme metal list. Let's see here. So, and I think I included one of their record. That was the one in the extreme metal list I made a couple years ago. I can't remember though. John. So the stuff that hasn't really been confirmed, but just been talked about, like John Anderson, Songs of Zamarin, Son of Elias, Childless Jades featured Jonah Teeter's A Matter of Life and Death Part 2 is definitely coming at some point. Falling Up presents The Chilling Alpine Adventure. They have a Patreon, and Jesse Roborti's been talking about this album and the focus on this. But I'm not part of the Patreon, so I'm not getting all those updates. But I know there's activity, and that's generally when there's activity from Jesse, generally something's going to happen. Janet Jackson's Black Diamond, The Kind City, the album I already have, is going to be officially released. They're doing a crowdfunding thing for the album This. I got to get back to Marshall about that actually, but that's going to come out officially sometime this year, I think, probably in the next few months after the campaign's hopefully successful. Clem 1918 Amor. Okay, Paul Meany's Motivational Speaker. This is basically for mutemath fans, just like we got DK the drummer coming out this week. He just did a video update a couple days ago on Instagram saying the first single's coming in June. This album will be released this year. So, I mean, the stuff that he put a couple years ago, that was 22, sounded really good. So, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be identical to mutemath, but it's the next best thing. It's almost like when we got Vanart when Oceanside was done. That's the way I kind of look at it. So, more on Police, Pachinko, they've posted some stuff, but I mean, they haven't posted stuff about the album. They posted some samples and stuff. I don't know if it was new or old. Fido, Automoto, Animus, I don't know what the story on that. Brian Scare, we're still kind of waiting on The House That Time Forgot. I think that's, you know, mostly what's come around. I mean, I saw something from the Proto Men the other day. There's stuff that's still on this list that, you know, Capital Cities are doing some tours. Cloud Cult, of course. Opeth, yeah, Ian Anderson's going to be on their record, so as much as I'm vanilla about Opeth now, people are going to want to know about that. Pure Reason Revolution, Radical Faith, they're being active on social media. I don't know about Savatage. We hope that still something could happen. John Oliva's Self, of course. I did hear a new Self song in an episode of Sesame Street that's on Max that you can get it. It's okay. I mean, it's not exactly, but it has its moments, but it's very much a kid thing. So it sounds like it's made for a kid show, kind of like what Andy Sturmer's been doing. But one of these days, one of these years, we're hoping we'll get more Self. That Terminal 3 is a Minnesota band that features Greg Harrigus. I mentioned that in the last update. Oh, and the Reign of Kindo, this is something that's shared with the patrons. We got a new mastered song today, just for the patrons. But I think it's, you know, the progress is being made. Granted, we've been saying this for many years with like them and Dredge and some others, but the update that Joey sent to us, Joey from the Reign of Kindo, is encouraging. Whether it comes out this year or not, especially if it's going to be a double album, that was some of the talk, Wither and Bloom or whatever it's going to be called, I don't know. But I'm at least getting more optimistic. I mean, being on the Patreon, I've actually heard a lot of these songs, but I'm not wearing them out. But that new song he shared today, that was a finished version, sounded different. It was very riffy and heavy. So I don't know if this record's going to be kind of a hodgepodge or going to be into some new territory for the Reign of Kindo. But anyway, I think that's about it. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned Miracles of Modern Science. I haven't seen anything more on it. They just said thank you. Mew did a show back on April 3rd where they played a new song live. I don't know if they mean there's something in the works. I just would love for them to reunite with Bo Madsen, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. And some of these other bands, you know, it's like, well, yes, maybe. We got to just, you know, kind of wait and see. It could be this year, it could be next year. Formal Horse, Jolly, Muse, of course. Agent Fresco, Bent Knee. They've been active on social media. Crimson Glory, of course. Dirty Loops. Dream Theater. Oh, and the Deer Hunter, of course. The Deer Hunter, that's the thing. They're doing Act 3 in a week. It's like May 7th via the Pillar. You can just pay for a ticket, just like Act 2 and Act 1 were performed. It's already been filmed and everything like that. The full Act 3, Life and Death. But I don't know what the exact status on Sonya is, because they're still active. They're doing their Makey Words podcast and everything like that. I don't know. I'm thinking of signing up for the Pillar for a month again, being able to watch the Act 3, at my own discretion if I can't watch it on May 7th. Because May 14th it's going to be, and so, but I don't know. There's been a lot more information about what the status of, because I know they've written it and probably recorded a lot of it. It's just, they're going down under in a few weeks to do a show with Toehider and I forget the other band on the bill. Thank You Scientist, maybe. Thank You Scientist actually just got announced for Cruise to the Edge, and they're announcing Cruise to the Edge names and stuff like that. Not a lot of names I'm that excited about, but see, because I know Thank You Scientist singer left, but they must have got a new singer or something like that. So that's it for a new new release calendar update. Like I say, try to do these, I don't know, every few weeks, once a month. It's really sporadic. There's no real set schedule for it, but and like I said, 1989, the Minnesota Prog list. I don't know if I'm going to be able to avoid doing it Timberwolves, because, the Timberwolves fever where they just, had their way with Phoenix, and now they're playing Denver. Am I picking the Timberwolves to win in that series? I guess at this point I would, because they played so well against Phoenix and their defense was so effective. It's going to be a matter, if they can win one of the first 2 games in Denver, it could make it a little easier. Part of it also is that the fact Anthony Edwards is just playing so damn well. He's like ascending in some ways. You see it. That he may just take over 2 or 3 of these games anyway. As much as he's, you say Joker, Jokic is like maybe the best player in the league, and they're defending champions and everything. When you have someone really hungry and some guy who's like figuring out his IQ, his basketball IQ, his acumen's becoming better and better, it's, But then again, if they beat Denver, it doesn't necessarily guarantee they'd end up playing probably Oklahoma City in the next round, and then maybe the Celtics in the finals. They'd still have to get past them. But sometimes, hunger and just will ends up allowing, like how the Twins won the World Series in 87-91. I felt like Puckett basically willed them to win those Worlds, especially 8-91. But anyway, thank you for watching again, and we'll see you next time.